Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are talking all about my top 20 reads of all time. So my mom, thank you mom for inspiring this video. She just recently got a Kindle and has gotten all set up with Libby and the Kindle store, Kindle Unlimited, and she was like, I need some book recommendations. What do you recommend? Any genre, but your top 20. So that's what we're doing today. I am gonna warn you, there are four series on this list. So I am cheating a little bit, but hear me out. I wanted to do it that way because some of my favorite books within these series are in the middle, so they're not book 1, they're like book 3 or whatever. So I didn't want to just list book 3 and then you go to pick that up and you're like, what the F is actually happening in this book? So I want to include the whole series also because like the series as a whole is what is the top 20 for me. So it just made sense in my brain. I apologize. These are not all. Why are there so many helicopters coming in and out of our airport right by our house? Squirrel. Okay. There are some interconnected standalones in this as well, and then right over our house. We have some interconnected standalones, and then we also have some standalones that I'm gonna go over. And this was really freaking difficult. I went back to 2021. Since 2021, that's kind of the year that I picked up reading again, where I was reading a lot and I was keeping track of what I was reading. So I have notes in my phone from 2021 that list all the books by month. And 2021 I didn't rate them, 2022 I did, and 2023. And 2022 and 23, like, I was rating them on a scale of 10 because I wanted to be different. I don't fucking know. So it was just difficult to like get all the books together and write them down, and then I almost forgot some and it was just like chaotic. So I'm going to group these by author because I do have a few that are repeat authors. So the first one we're going to talk about is Kristin Hannah, and her books I discovered this year or last year, and I think it was last year. When did I read Nightingale? Now I'm like, wait a minute, I think I read it this year. I think I read it in January. I did. Can confirm it was this year. So I read Nightingale first, and that is on this list. She is one of, if not the greatest historical fiction author. She's just amazing. Even if you don't like historical fiction, her books get you so into the like fiction part of it, and you love the characters so much that you are so invested that even if you're someone who like hates reading about history, you will still get sucked in. Her writing is so cinematic, and Nightingale is going to be a movie, so get to look forward to that. But this one is a World War II historical fiction book, and it's kind of more of a sister love story than it is anything else, but there are also elements of romance. But it's just such a beautiful book. All of her books I'm sobbing by the end. The other two I'm going to mention on this list are The Great Alone and The Women. The Women is her most recent release, and it is also a historical fiction book. It is about a nurse in the Vietnam War, and she's very young. She decides to join the army to be a nurse over in Vietnam after her brother is killed in action. So it is just the most amazing, like I can't even come up with words. The Women is my favorite out of all three, and it's just, it's so good. It's so heart-wrenching. That one is kind of a story of personal growth and triumph. Like, it's just, our main character Frankie is so lovable. She goes through so much, and there's a lot of different themes in the book and a lot of different, you know, dynamics that you have with her and different people in her life, and it's an excellent book. I would change nothing about it. The Great Alone is not really historical fiction. It's about a family that moves to Alaska, like rural Alaska. I almost said rural Alaska and was thinking Nebraska. I don't know. They move to rural Alaska, and they like have to hunt for their food. They don't have running water. They don't have electricity. And they move to this kind of community where everyone is helping take care of one another. I would say with Kristin Hannah books, look up trigger warnings because there are themes of domestic abuse, child abuse, PTSD, war stories, all kind of across the different books. And some of her, they deal with really heavy things. So I would just look out for that just to make sure you're in a good headspace and you know what you're walking into. But her writing style, her like cinematic quality of her writing is just unbelievable. So those were 3 of the books on the list. Now we're gonna move to a new author, and that is Elin Hilderbrand. And I have 1 series on here and then 2 standalones from her. The first standalone I'm going to talk about is Golden Girl, and I just finished this one recently and absolutely loved it. It was almost as if the It was almost as if the Hotel Nantucket and the Winter in Paradise series, which we'll talk about, had a baby. Like, it had some sort of like mystical paranormal element to it, but it also had the quality of the Winter in Paradise series, where you're following this family and you're getting kind of all the different point of views and what they're going through, and it's centered around one big event that happened to them. And I loved this so much. Elin Hilderbrand's writing is so beachy and nostalgic and just like hits me right in the gut. I love her stuff so much. And I've mentioned it so many times, I'm mentioning it again. How many times can I talk about this? But the way she writes about food is like, it's so good. Even if you're full, like to the point of almost puking, you read her book and you're like, that sounds pretty good. I think I'm hungry again. And I actually got Golden Girl for my mom for Mother's Day because I think it tells a really good story and has a great perspective on mothers with their children. And it's just like, I thought of my mom the whole time I was reading it, and it was really beautiful. So I love Golden Girl. And then of course I couldn't not include Blue Bistro in this. Blue Bistro is my first Elin Hilderbrand book I ever read, and it changed my life. Like, I love that book to my core, and again, how many times can I say it? It is Blue Crush in a movie. In a Blue Crush the movie in a book. I just loved this so much. It gave me all the beachy vacation feels. This one follows Adrienne, and she is moving to Nantucket. She's kind of like a nomad where she like pops around and works at hotels all over the world, and she goes to Nantucket and decides to work in the restaurant industry because that's where she can get a job. And she meets Thatcher, and he owns the restaurant. He's the one who actually hires her. They come into like a romance, but there's so many other things that are going on in this book. It's just an excellent book. So love that one. And then we'll get into the series, which is Winter in Paradise series. This is a trilogy actually, and I am obsessed. Like, I will reread this sometime in my life, if not several times. So this one is about Irene, and she is married to Russ. She gets a phone call late one night and finds out that he tragically passed away, and she also realizes that he was living a double life. And it is the most insane, like, crazy story, and you're following like at least 7 different point of views, and it takes place on St. John, which is in the US Virgin Islands, so you get kind of that beachy quality that you always get with Elin Hilderbrand book, but there's also like a murder mystery to it, and it's just fantastic. I read the first one without knowing it was part of a series, and I was completely like, I audibly gasped at the end because I was like, no way, like, you're gonna leave me on a cliffhanger. And then I was like, oh, okay, it's a series, and I immediately got the next one and had to read it. So I would recommend that one to everyone because it has so many things all squished into one book. Okay, the next author we're going to talk about is Sarah J Maas. I feel like everyone could have guessed all of these authors and these books so far. So for Sarah J Maas, I'm including all 3 of her series, ACOTAR, Throne of Glass, and Crescent City. I can't say enough good things. If you're a fantasy, romantasy girly, you will love Sarah J Maas. I don't know how you like couldn't have read them already, but they are just so good. ACOTAR and Crescent City are both adult fantasy, so there's a lot of smut and a lot of, explicit content. And then Throne of Glass is young adult, so you don't get that, but there is some romance to it. It's just not smutty. If I had to pick a favorite out of the 3 series, I would pick Crescent City. I love that series more than anything in the entire world. That series, I rated every single book that has been published so far 3 stars. There's 3 books. I rated them all 5 stars. And I just, oh my gosh, it's so good. I connect to all the characters in all of her books. You end up loving, caring, and sympathizing with every single character there is. Like, it almost reminds me of Grey's Anatomy in the sense that, like, you meet them at the beginning and you hate them, or you're like, oh my god, this guy's the worst, or you love them, and like their character arc just completely changes, and it's just an amazing world that Sarah J Maas is creating. Just a few quick summaries for all of them. Crescent City is about Bryce Quinlan, and she finds herself kind of entangled with like a murder mystery type of thing going on in the first one, and then that evolves. I'm not going to get into anything past the first book or like a very, very generalized view of what's happening because I don't want to spoil anything. ACOTAR is about Feyre, and she is a human, but she finds herself over in the Fey world after she accidentally kills a fairy, and she essentially her whole life changes from that point on. And then Throne of Glass is about Elin. She's an assassin, and she is entered into a contest to hopefully win her freedom. And it's just that one, from start to finish, so much shit happens. It is Sarah J Maas's only finished published series. ACOTAR and Crescent City are still ongoing, but that, like, that's all I'm gonna say. Like, I can't say anything else without spoiling it, and just read them. The next person I'm going to talk about is Rebecca Yarros, and I have two very, very different books. She started as a romance author and then has now kind of moved into fantasy. She wrote Fourth Wing, second to Crescent City, my favorite fantasy world series situation. It is ongoing. There are 2 books out, Fourth Wing and Iron Flame. I only have Fourth Wing on this list, and I guess you could count Iron Flame, but like Fourth Wing is just a beautiful piece of work, and I'm obsessed with it. I liked it more than Iron Flame. This one's about Violet. She is someone who's very quiet. She trained to be a scribe for her entire life, and then she's forced to go into the Dragon Rider group, or they call them quadrants, and she just completely blossoms and turns into someone else, and then gets entangled with a huge other thing. I'm gonna leave it at that. I absolutely love that book. It is adult, it is smutty. There's so much tension in that book. Like, it is palpable. We read it for our book club, and of course the guys are like, I've never read a book with smut in it before, and we're all like, what are you doing? Like, so for us, we're like, oh my god, like, nails on a chalkboard how frustrating the tension was at times, because it was like, just do it already. On the other side of that, there is her romance writing, and I loved The Things We Leave Unfinished. This is a historical fiction book as well. You get 2 timelines. You have present day, and then you have World War II, and it is linked together by a great-granddaughter, great-grandmother relationship. This is a smutty book. It's nothing like super crazy or like super frequent, but it is in there. You get a little touch of spice. It's just such a beautiful book because you're getting this love story in the 1940s, but you're also getting a love story present day. So there's just a lot of different things at play. There's an enemies to lovers element to it. I loved this book. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Guys, I'm crying. Can you see my eyes? Focus! Baby Bieber? Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god! I need to call my best friend, and she's not fucking answering me. Holy mother of God. Justin Bieber's gonna be a dad. Oh my god, please answer. Let's refocus. Okay. So the last repeat author I have on here is Taylor Jenkins Reid. And I could have listed several books. I could have cheated and called this a series, but I'm not going to because hers are interconnected. So I included The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo and Daisy Jones and the Six. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo reads like a normal book, meaning that it's not told in any sort of different format or layout, but Daisy Jones and the Six is told in an interview format, so it's like you're reading transcripts from several different interviews, which is super interesting and a very like unique way to write a book, and it almost feels like you're reading a memoir or something that's real. It feels more tangible. It's about a band in the 70s who gets together after they find like really big success on a single that they do together, meaning that like the Six was a band and Daisy Jones comes and joins the band, and then there's like chaos that ensues and a lot of things that are going on and a lot of dynamics amongst the entire band, and it's just an amazing book. The series on Amazon Prime is so well done that like you have to watch it when you're done reading this book. Riley Keough is the perfect Daisy Jones, and it's just like chef's kiss.
Hello?
Hello? Yeah, because I need to see your face when I tell you this.
Why can't I hear you?
You can't hear me?
Oh wait, hold on. Yeah, I was in the middle of a Brazilian wax, and I was like, oh dude, what the fuck?
What's happening?
I can call you back when I'm home. I'll be home in like 8 minutes.
Okay, just don't get on Instagram. What was I saying? I lost it again. The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo is told as a normal story is typically, like I said, and that one is about a woman who was a really big movie star, and she kind of like removed herself from the limelight and now has come back and wants to do like a last interview that tells essentially her entire life story and kind of like all of her secrets, why she went into like hiding or like didn't want to be in the public eye anymore, and she chooses a, I guess for lack of a better word, no-name journalist to do it for her. So she sits down with this journalist and you are getting the journalist's point of view and like what's going on in her life a little bit, and then you're also getting Evelyn's, and it's just super interesting. There are some curveballs that I was not expecting, and I love Taylor Jenkins Reid's writing, so even if those don't sound like something that you would like, definitely check out some of her other books. Okay, now that I don't have any repeat authors, I'm gonna throw in my nonfiction books. And for those, I have 3. I know I haven't been counting off all of these, but whatever. There are 20, I promise. So the 3 books that I have Life Will Be the Death of Me by Chelsea Handler. Why did I just forget her name? That is probably my top favorite memoir I've ever read in my life. It is so like poignant on anxiety, depression, grief. I was in a really, really low point in my life when I read this book, and my sister-in-law, Brooke, she recommended it. She was like, I've read all of her books, but this one is incredible. Go listen to her podcast. And truly, that book helped me so much. It's a deep and like emotional book, but it is absolutely incredible. I love Chelsea Handler, and that book is just like life-changing. Similar to that, but like also not really similar, is Untamed by Glennon Doyle. This one was super interesting because if you know anything about Glennon Doyle's story, she was in a marriage with the father of her children, and he was a cis man, and she just like wasn't living authentically and felt like she was trapped, and now she is with Abby Wambach, who is a women's soccer star. She's retired now, but she is now in this relationship, and they have kind of a blended family, and she essentially walks you through like the image she was giving to the public about her perfect marriage, and then how she got to where she is now. And it is just such an interesting story, but it also has so many life lessons in it. And for me, I've been in relationships where I feel like I'm trapped and I feel like I'm a shell of who I used to be, and I am just trying to like get through each day. And this book just made me feel like so seen and also like empowered at the end of the day. I cried when this book like ended because I was like, wow, that was just so powerful. And then I also included The Light We Carry by Michelle Obama. I love Michelle Obama's books. I've read Becoming by Michelle Obama, but this one is just, I don't know, there's something different about it. I think she's such a beautiful writer. She is so intelligent and has so much like knowledge and experience. Like she's just lived an insane life and is so just amazing in and of herself. And then she also has the element that her husband was the president. So she's got like that whole experience that not many people have, you know, went through in this lifetime. And she just is so well spoken. I really agree with a lot of her ideas and a lot of her things. And she walks through a lot in this book, kind of her time as the president's wife and like what it was like to go through it as a wife, as a partner, as a mother. Obviously wasn't something that she was probably jazzed about all the time. She wasn't, I can tell you from the book, but it was just really interesting. And it's funny because like even for me, I've made the joke of like, damn, I wish Michelle Obama would run for president, and she like kind of addresses it in the book and she's like, absolutely effing not will I ever do that, in nicer, more eloquent words. And she just, I love this book so much. I would recommend it truly to anyone, especially women. And I don't think you necessarily need to read Becoming to read this one, because this one reads a little more like not a self-help book, but it's got elements of that in it that Becoming didn't. Becoming was truly like becoming Michelle Obama, like how she grew up and what that looks like. So if you're interested in her story, I would read that one first. If you're wanting something that's more so like life lesson-y, I think that's kind of The Light We Carry, if that makes sense. But I would read both of them, honestly. The next 4 are all romance books, and they're all different authors, so I'm just gonna go through them in no particular order. First, we have Reckless by Elsie Silver, and this one is part of the Chestnut Springs series. It is like in the middle of the Chestnut Springs series, but I have said before, you don't have to read the entire Chestnut Springs series if you don't want to, but if you do pick up a book in the middle, you will have spoilers from the other books, but it's not anything crazy. It's just like, hey, these two people are together and like maybe they got married, maybe they had a baby, whatever. This one follows Winter and Theo. I always say Winter and Beau, but it's Winter and Theo. And Theo's a bull rider, Winter is an emergency room doctor, and it is just, is that right? She's a doctor. Is she am I getting confused with Abby Jimenez? She's a doctor. I do know that. And she has had like a really rough life, as has her sister who has a book in this series, but she's had a really rough life. She's very closed off. She's very like Winter. If Winter was real, she would be highly offended that I just said that, but she's very like cold, or she comes across that way. She comes across very cold and very like detached. And Theo is just like a big teddy bear. He loves everyone. He's very happy. He's golden retriever. So it's definitely a grumpy sunshine. The sunshine is Theo, and the winter is grumpy. The grumpy is Winter. It is just like such a cute love story. The conflicts in Elsie Silver books I love because they don't feel like they're thrown out of nowhere. They're not just like put in there because you need something for the people to fight over. They're truly like, they make sense. They feel realistic to what would happen in real life if these characters in this setting and these situations were real. And her books are very, very, very smutty. So if you like that, definitely pick this up. The next two are like the most recent books that I've read. So we'll start with Funny Story by Emily Henry. I loved this book so much. It follows Miles and Daphne. And I'm going to try to explain this in words that make sense. So Daphne was engaged to Peter. They broke up. No, okay. I'm already getting confused. Daphne was engaged to Peter. Miles was with Petra. Petra and Peter are childhood best friends. They decided they wanted to be together. So Peter kicks out Daphne. Petra moves out of Miles' apartment. They're together and they're like, okay, bye, we're gonna go get married. That leaves us Daphne and Miles. Daphne has no place to live, so she moves in with Miles and becomes his roommate. That's the gist. So we've got a forced proximity roommate situation, a like strangers to friends to lovers, and it's so cute. I loved this book. There's spice, there's like the emotional romance, there's different dynamics with parents and siblings, and it's just a masterpiece. I'm obsessed with it. And then we have Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. I read this one right after I read Funny Story, and this one is also so cute. Abby Jimenez is hit or miss for me, but I loved this one. It was just so stinking cute. It's like a fake dating kind of thing. So basically both of our main characters, there's Justin and there's Emma, and they both have this thing where they date someone and then that person that they dated goes on to find their soulmate after they break up with Justin and Emma, and they decide like, oh, if we get together and then we break up, then we're gonna find each other's soulmates once we're, done. So they go on these dates and they're trying to, keep it platonic, but they're following a formula of like, okay, we went on this many dates and what constitutes dating and these relationships and how does this curse come into effect. And then there's all these elements of like parent relationships and again siblings, similar to Funny Story, but this is a much more heightened version of that and a much more like prevalent to our main characters, and it's just such a good book. I love this so much. There is spice to this as well, but I feel like Abby Jimenez like skates the surface of spice and isn't too descriptive or vulgar, but you still get that element, if that makes sense. The last one is The 7-Year Slip by Ashley Poston, and Ashley Poston is one of my favorite authors of all time. This is a romance book, like I said, but it deals a lot with grief. She is so well spoken on grief. She truly can put your feelings and your internal thoughts that you're having about grief when you're in the thick of it into words, and you're like, they just hit you. Oh my god, you got it to work, you're in your car. Dude, I need to see your face. Guess what? If you already know this, I'm gonna be so sad.
I'm fucking scared.
It's not anyone we know, but I just wanted you to know because I literally like teared up. If you already know this, I'm gonna be so upset. Justin Bieber's having a baby!
No, I did not know this.
They just posted it on Instagram, and my friend Tara texted me and she was like, you're gonna die. And I was like, what? And she was like, Baby Bieber, and I went and looked and they posted pictures.
This little video thing. Oh.
I literally was like, oh my god, I can't.
Never fucking touring again.
I know.
Oh, these pictures are so cute.
There is a romance element to this as well, which is just absolutely so freaking sweet, and I just really love Ashley Poston's writing. It's another one of those that are just like, it feels like you're getting just a warm hug when you're reading it. So that is everything for this video, you guys. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure you subscribe, follow me, thumbs up, everything's linked down below, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!